Hello! Today I'm going to show you how I do Judy Becker's Magic Cast On. Now if you've seen very many videos of this, you'll know that there's about a billion different ways of doing this. But if you'll notice also, they all come out the same. Which is why I've dubbed this my It Doesn't Matter Cast On. Because it doesn't matter how you set it up or how you execute it, it's going to come out the same. The only two things you need to have are 2 needles and yarn in the center of those 2 needles. The 2 needles can be whatever combination you want to use, DPNs or 2 circulars or a DPN and a circular, whatever you want to use. It'll work. And the yarn tail, don't worry about it. Whatever method you have learned or you're going to learn and you can't remember where the yarn tail goes, it just doesn't matter. It all works. Just throw it on there somewhere. But for me, for this video, I'm going to show you how I do it. Now this is very, very, very similar to the long tail cast on. So if you have that down, you're golden. You're good. But you hold it just like this, and then your yarn is in the center. And then your other needle is on top. Now you can have your other your loop on the top needle and the empty needle on the bottom. It's just a matter of where you have to start to cast on. And I'll explain that as I go. So if you don't want it on the bottom, pay attention here, just a few minutes, I'll tell you the other way. So I set this up and you hold it just like a long tail cast on, exactly. And then what you're going to do is bring your needles, because I've got my loop at the bottom needle, you bring your loop toward you. And then the top needle follows the path of your thumb. And it goes in between the 2 yarns. See the 2 yarns right there on either side of your thumb? It goes in between there. And if you'll notice, the outside yarn is going in between those needles. You want to let that go in between there. And then you're going to drop your thumb yarn. Then you're going to come back behind here and pick it up so you can tension it. And you have made your first set of needles, or first set of stitches. Now, if you chose to put your yarn on the top, you would want to go and start at the top. So you would take your yarn and hang on to it and go away from you. And now the bottom needle follows the path of your forefinger and goes over that yarn and under, and you bring it towards you and tension it, and you've made your first set of stitches. Let me try that again. Here's your setup. Remember, if your loop's on the bottom, you start down here. You start at the bottom. If your loop is on top, you start at the top. But I put my loop on the bottom, and I'm just going to go ahead and continue now on how I do this cast on. So I put my loop on the bottom, grab it, and again, the bottom loop, the one that has the yarn on it, goes on the other side. The top loop, the top needle follows your thumb down in between the two yarns, and the yarn goes in between these needles. And you let go. Come back behind it and tension. And then we're going to go up. Bottom needle follows your yarn, follows your finger. And see how that yarn's going in between? You want to let it. And then just kind of move your hand to where you can tension the yarn. And then you just alternate. Sometimes you gotta hold it and help it. Let's see, different view maybe. This from the back. We're almost out of yarn. All right, let's count them. 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There you go. Now when you're done casting on, you want to turn your needle. And be careful. See, this is just flying. If you don't take care of that, you'll lose that needle. You'll lose that stitch. To deal with the yarn tail, you just need to, when you get done casting on, you just need to turn it over and find out where it's at. And on this one, the yarn tail is in the center of the two needles. So you just bring that down and then turn it over and begin to knit. This one, it was cast on differently, and the yarn tail is over here, and the ball yarn's in the center. So you just bring the ball yarn down, yarn tail over, and hang on to that yarn tail. Turn your work back over and start knitting. Basically, you just want to twist that yarn tail over or under, or just twist it so it locks it in whenever you start knitting. I'll demonstrate here. So that's where my yarn tail is, and you bring it straight down and you turn your work over and you start to knit. And after that first stitch, you have locked in your yarn tail and don't have to worry about it no more. Now if you have cast on with a death grip, then you may want to use the 1 DPN and one circular method, which I'll show you here in just a minute. And we'll pick this up. Now, remember, we got to turn it over and find out where our yarn tail is. And it's over here. So we have to lock that in. And there it is. So we just start, oh, wait. So we pull out, if you have cast on with the death grip, this would be a good option for you. You just pull that out and let it hang. And then you start knitting after you've twisted this again. Hope y'all don't mind that guest appearance there. Kind of threw me there for a minute, can you tell? Okay, so you just start knitting and you can see there's absolutely no stress in this. So if you're notorious for casting on quite tightly, this would be your option. See how easy that was? And so you just turn it over. Your yarn tail is locked in. And you just bring back the circular needle back into play. And you knit those off. Oh. Something about this cast on is these stitches on this needle are cast on backwards, so you're going to have to knit those through the back loop. And there you have it, you're back on DPNs. And if you're knitting a sock, that's pretty handy. Or you could be knitting on 2 circulars and just begin your pattern at this point, actually. It's all on you now. There's your knits. And there's your pearls. You want to tidy up this one, though. As you can see, the yarn tail has been locked in right there. But because you're knitting on it, it stretched that out a bit. So let's pull that just a bit, and as you can see, it tightened that right up. Now, you just keep turning and knitting and making an invisible cast on.